Alrighty, well, it doesn't look like the number of participants is increasing at this stage. So I would like to begin this Q&A discussion with current students studying our international degree programs in the subject area of environment and sustainability. So thank you to all our current students for joining us today. It's fantastic to be here with you. My name is Tim Parker. I am a communications officer at the international office here at Lund University. And we have with us three current students studying today, and they're here to answer any questions you have about student life and about their programs. So to everyone that's attending, please don't be shy today. You're welcome to use the Q&A to ask any and all questions you may have about these programs. It's always really, really good to hear from current students about their experience firsthand. So without further ado, I think we'll get started. And I would just like to ask each of our students, if you could please introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and what you're studying. So first on my screen, I can see Sahana.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sahana. I am originally from Bangalore, India, and I'm currently in my third semester, so my second year of master's studies, and I'm doing the International Master's Program in Environmental Studies and Sustainability Science.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sahana. And Malik.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this panel. My name is Malik. I'm coming from Lebanon, and I'm currently pursuing my second year of the International Master, MESPOM, Master in Environmental Sciences, Policy and Management.
Thank you so much, Malik. And Sanchita.
Hi, I'm Sanchita. I'm from Delhi, India, and I'm in my first year of Environmental Management and Policy, which is a 2-year program.
Fantastic. So we have all three of our sustainability programs covered here today by our current students, which is perfect. And there's going to be a lot to talk about. So one thing that I'm really curious about to ask you before we get started with the live questions is, what is your favorite thing about studying this program in Lund? And Sanchita, I know you're in your first year, but you still had some time to get settled in. So perhaps we can start with you and environmental management and policy.
Absolutely. I think there are two answers to that question. One is about the course itself. My course is really international, probably one of the most international programs that Lund University has. And I get to interact with a lot of different types of people from diverse cultures, and I feel like I'm away from home without feeling like I'm away from home. And so it's really cool, and it's a very tight-knit program. We have a lot of activities together. Our lectures are great, and there's a lot of focus on peer-to-peer learning, which for me is a great, it's like one of my favorite things about the entire program.
Fantastic. That's really, really great to hear. And Malik, about your program, what's the favorite thing about studying MESPOM so far?
Well, this could really have a lot of answers, especially that our program is, we are 32 people coming from 23 different countries. So this is the diversity, and this is like a ratio of how much diverse is this program. But one of the aspects here is like learning from the institutions that the program is located at, within the rooms and the classrooms of the universities, but also outside the environment of the cities that the institutions are located in. We're talking here about living in Vienna, also in Mytilene in Lasvos, and currently located in Lund in Sweden. But to be more specific and about this current semester, I would say that during the Lund semester, there will be a completion of triangulation of environmental studies. So with the focus of management and policy during this current semester, there is a complete understanding and grasping the interfaces of sciences, policy, and management. So yeah, this is at a glance.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Malik. And Sanchita, we lost you there for, oh, no, she's gone again. Seems like she's maybe having a few issues with the Wi-Fi or something along those lines, but we can just continue on, and I'm sure she's going to join back with us shortly as well. And Sahana, could you let us know what's your favorite thing about studying environmental studies and sustainability science?
Yeah, I think quite like Sanchita, my program is also very international, and we're a group of around 50 students from all over the world. So it does feel like there is a lot of different perspectives in the classroom. And I think for me, being able to understand and learn more about environmental problems from all around the world and not just from my own home country has been a really great experience. And I think I've also been exposed to a lot of different theories and a lot of different ideologies that I probably would not have had the chance had I been in a less diverse classroom or a less diverse university. So yeah.
Fantastic. It's really good to hear. And basically from all three of you, I'm hearing that you have a very diverse, very international classroom. And I'm just wondering, you've already mentioned that students come from all across the world, and that's one of the strengths that you of your programs, that you encounter new ideologies, new perspectives. And I'm just wondering, do students in your programs have a wide variety of academic and professional backgrounds as well? All right, perfect. So Sanchita, could you maybe let us know a little bit about what people have previously studied in your specific class?
Absolutely. We have such a wide variety of professionals and fresh students, like fresh bachelor students. So we have both, but a lot of them come with some form of professional experience before they join this master's. And I think the structure of the EMP program is designed in a way that you can enter regardless of what your prior experience has been. Because sustainability in itself is such a interdisciplinary topic. Having said that, for example, in my class, I have students who have studied, for example, we have one student from fashion design, but we also have a lawyer, a corporate lawyer. I myself am a fashion technology student. So we do have a wide variety of backgrounds before people enter. I think the key thing is to find that intersection with sustainability and to be able to make that bridge between the issues and what the prior experience has been. That's a key part of our cohort.
Fantastic to hear. And Malik, do you have anything to add here about the diversity of students you're meeting on your program?
Definitely. So, I mean, I'm personally coming from engineering bachelor. I've been working throughout this year and a half so far in groups and with task force in the different institutions with people who purely study social sciences, anthropology, lawyers, people coming from economic background, communication sciences. The beauty of this program is to be able to communicate actually and to create common ground and common language between different disciplines. It's interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary program where you have a common language at the end of the day, and this is quite unique here.
Exciting. Thanks so much, Malik. And Sahana, do you have anything to add here as well?
I think it's like pretty similar to what Sanchita and Malik have said. We have a lot of students from so many different backgrounds, like quite similarly from like engineering and from tourism studies and business studies and economics and like the whole range of different subjects. But we also have students who are straight out of their bachelor's, but also students who have had several years of work experience between doing their bachelor's and now studying their master's. So it's really a group of people from diverse academic backgrounds. So.
All right, great. Thanks so much. And I would also like to thank everyone who's participating in the webinar as well. We now have 8 questions that have come in through the Q&A. So we have some exciting questions to get stuck into. Let's have a look here. Here's a really good question about the relationship between students and teachers. So Sweden might be a little bit different from some other backgrounds, which other international students have experienced. So Sahana, perhaps you could begin by letting us know, how is the relationship between students and teachers in the LUMIS program?
Yeah, I think that's a really nice question, because it really, I think for me, coming from India, the relationship has always been very formal. And there's always a certain hierarchy when it comes to students and teachers. But I see that hierarchy here doesn't exist as much. And there's definitely a more friendly and informal relationship between teachers and students. And teachers are definitely a lot more approachable and easy to contact, easy to meet, and also very welcoming and happy to answer questions related to your course. So they always try to make themselves available in like during the class hours or even outside the class hours through email. So I would say that it's always really nice to approach them if you have any issues or concerns.
That's really good to hear. And Sanchita, do you have anything to add here from an EMP perspective?
Yeah, I mean, my experience as an Indian is quite similar to Sahana's, but I find that there's no expectation to put teachers on a pedestal, for example. Teachers are quite open about, critical thinking and critiquing, not just what's happening in the class, but they encourage you to think about what's being taught in a very critical way. And for me, that's a key component of how I learn, for example. So in addition to everything Sahana said, the fact that we can ask questions and we can point out, okay, there's a gap in information, that's really different compared to where I come from.
All right, that sounds great. And Malik, anything to add here as well?
I think there is like quite excellent and extensive coverage of the question, like similar experiences. Thank you.
Perfect. And just for those of you listening, in case you weren't already aware, the program that Sahana and Sanchita are studying, both of those two programs are taught for 2 years only in Lund. But Malik is taking a slightly different program, which is taught in a number of different universities. So before we go any further, Malik, perhaps you would like to just quickly elaborate on how MESPOM is structured and how your experience of that has been as well, because it's a bit different from a program that's just taught at Lund.
Indeed. So MESPOM students have 3 core universities that they apply for certain track. For example, I am currently pursuing my specialization track in Lund. So within the application, it's either you apply for a policy and management focused track, or you go more into focusing on analytical and sciences track focused and located in University of Manchester. So first of all, you start your journey in creating the common understandings in Vienna. And then you focus more into policy and sciences studies when it comes to environment. Afterwards, you pursue your spring semester and during the summer in the University of the Aegean in Lesbos, Greece. And then in this semester, you focus your studies on applied environmental sciences studies and learning more into environmental management and monitoring tools, GIS, etc. And then in the second year, like now, I am currently located in Lund. Other colleagues are located now in University of Manchester, whereas for the 4th semester during your thesis, you have the right to choose in cross-cutting universities. You can do your thesis as joint research with both 2 or 3 universities. So you have the complete right to do so. And I really suggest to check the MESPOM program website because there is like quite extensive description on the governance of the program and the potentiality and the opportunities when it comes to partnering and partner universities. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Malik. That sounds really, really interesting, like a very, very international experience. So it sounds like there's international opportunities, whichever way you look, when you're studying a sustainability focused program. We have a question here that's got 2 upvotes from Carla, and it's the question that's on everybody's mind. And Sanchita, I can see that it looks like you have a cozy housing setup there behind you. So I'm going to ask you first, was it difficult to find housing in Lund?
So as an international student who is fee paying, I'm guaranteed housing by Lund accommodation. So for me, I wouldn't say that that experience speaks to everyone, but for international students, we know for sure that if we apply, housing is available, and we can choose what type of housing. So so far it's been a great experience, and I've not had any trouble with finding housing.
That's good to hear. And I can imagine that Swedish winters might be a little bit colder than winter in India. So have you found that it's
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you found that your housing is being cozy and warm so far?
Yeah, I think yes, but there is a little bit of an adjustment period, both because of where I come from, but also because the regulation in Sweden is slightly different, because heating is controlled by the central office. It's not like our landlords or LU accommodation can affect what the range of heating can be. So sometimes there's a little bit of an adjustment that might be required. Both to you living in this place and getting used to that, but it's pretty cozy. I mean, we are protected, and we have access to heating all of the time. There's a certain, I mean, of course we have to follow rules, but it's been fine if we just take care of that.
That's good to hear. And I think also in the Swedish winter, it's important to have cozy lighting, and I can see behind you, you've already got that sorted as well. All right, and I'm just think it's good to point out here, Sanchita already mentioned that non-EU students who are admitted to Lund University have the something very fantastic, which is called the housing guarantee. So as long as you do apply for housing on time, you're guaranteed to receive LU housing. If you're an EU applicant, it's a slightly different situation. So you also have a huge positive in that you don't have to pay any tuition fees when you study at Lund University. But that, on the other side of that coin, it means you're responsible for finding your own housing. But as long as you start early and you're thorough in your search, you will certainly find something. You can just take a bit of effort in the beginning, but the main thing is to start early once you get admitted. Malik, I'm just thinking, because you have a slightly different experience with MESPOM, how is finding housing for you? How did that work?
Well, actually, after living and moving around the continent, when it comes to like studying, you will start to have an extensive experience of how to search for like housing, and when it comes to the search of and like the skills of where actually to check and when, and all these matters. But I would say like there is like quite of us are living currently in housing that is provided by Lund University, like dorms and with nations. So most of my colleagues were granted their non-EU colleagues were granted their housing. I personally am living now with my girlfriend in a studio, of which we were lucky to found. But of course, I had also the alternative of staying at university dorm. So I got accepted. I had the offer, but yeah, I found a good alternative.
Perfect. That's great to hear. And now we have a question that I think is really interesting as well. Sahana, I'll ask it to you first. It's from Chinan, and they ask, did you apply elsewhere, for example, to other universities? And if so, why did you pick Lund University?
Yeah, it's actually a coincidence because I had also applied for the MESPOM program that Malik is studying right now. And I had also applied to the program at Stockholm Resilience Center, which was my second option, and Lumes was my first option in Sweden. And since I got accepted to Lumes, I chose it. And I think the reason for me choosing Lumes over MESPOM was, I wanted to be in one place for 2 years. And I liked the idea of being comfortable in one space and continuing having a relationship with my classmates over 2 years. I also found the course to be more aligned with what I want to do in the future and also aligned with what I had studied before. The LUMES program is quite theoretical and the focus is really on academic research. So there's a lot of academic writing, reading, report making, and the course is very much structured towards that. And that is what I wanted to see or have for myself in a master's program. And because the LUMES program is structured in that way, it was quite a simple choice for me. Yeah, so that I think is a few of my reasons.
Fantastic, happy to hear it. And Sanchita, would you like to add anything here? Did you apply to some other universities as well?
Actually, no, because I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew which course I wanted to do. And one of it's quite similar to Sahana's. One of my reasons was also to stay in one place and build relationships, build my own network, because I'm emigrating from another country. So it takes time to build your base. And for me, being in one city was quite important. And but the bigger reason, or the main reason why I even applied to the program, was the alumni of the course and the good things that I heard. It was after a lot of speaking to a lot of people who had done the program before. I even attended a lot of these Q&A webinars just to make sure the information I had was correct. So for me, that was the motivation. It was the quality of program and the trust that people who had already gone through it had in it.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. And I think that's an excellent piece of advice to anyone that's thinking about studying one of these programs, is to speak with the alumni and get their experience. That's really, really good insights, Sanchita. Now, Malik, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, I would like to to highlight here that we MESPOMers are lucky that we share also with the EMP the second year. So now currently we're taking some courses and the preparation phase of the thesis semester, that we are cross-cutting in these courses. And I would say that we're really lucky also to be part of the Alumni Association after graduating as well, which is MESPOM also part of it. The EMP program is really excellent if you're really focusing on policy and management. But also MESPOM is also, it really depends, because I've seen one of the questions when it comes to the comparison between the courses. It really depends on what actually you want to pursue and what you really want to focus on. You really need that sciences aspect of the program or not. Of course, having 2 years in Lund provides you with more opportunity to have extensive and to build upon your network and to expand more and more knowledge on focused policy and management courses. So yeah, so we are lucky to share this also privilege and feature with the EMPers, thankfully.
Nice, that's really good. I'm hearing a lot of positive things today. That's really good to hear. And here's a question which I'm very happy has come up, because I know we're probably going to hear some more positive feedback here. And it's about the student community. So is there a good social connection within your cohort and within your class? Sahana, how about we start with you and environmental studies and sustainability science?
Yeah, I'm just reading the question again. It's on student life outside the program, like student community, right?
Yes, so it's from Maya, and it's, how have you experienced student community? Is there a good social connection within the cohort?
Yeah, I think within my cohort, there definitely is a lot of good social connection. And one of the reasons being is that we have a lot of group work that really pushes you outside your personal boundaries to work collaboratively with other people. So that, I think, is one way in which you really form a community within your classmates. Having said that, I think the relation between LUMES and other environment-related programs in the university, like EMP or MESPOM, isn't, I guess, as connected as it could be. And it would be really nice to have that connection and sort of learn from each other. And I feel that's one thing which is lacking. But now a few students from the new batch are making that effort to sort of have more interactions across different programs, which I think is a great initiative. But even outside the academic cohort, I think there are many opportunities to form your own student community. I am, for example, involved with the student union, the social science student union, and through that I've been able to meet a lot of students from a variety of different programs in the department. So through that, I think you really get an idea that there are so many students studying in the university in these like other great, amazing programs that you had no idea about. So in that way, I think it's really nice. Yeah.
Well, that's really good to hear. And Lund University, I mean, Lund University is of course quite famous for its student life overall as well. Sanchita, how is the student community in EMP?
Yeah, so I think one of the reasons why, how Malik mentioned, why EMP and MESPOM are really close is because both the courses sit within the International Institute for Industrial Environmental Economics. It's a long name, but the IIIEE, that's the name of the institute. And I think that
Oh, it looks like we may have lost Sanchita for now, but it's probably just a slight issue with her. Oh, there we go.
there's a big, to make sure that, is it better now?
Oh no, we lost her, but I'm sure she will be back shortly. Always can be frustrating with, oh, there we go. You're back now, Sanchita.
Yep, I apologize for my internet. No, as I was saying, that both the courses sit within the institute, and I think within the culture of the institute, there's a big focus on making sure that the programs are quite, they involve a lot of group work, and both inside and even outside with the social activities, there's a lot of focus on making sure that we all feel like a community. So that's, I mean, there are a lot of traditions that have developed over the past 30 years, I would say, since the course has been running. So we feel like we add on to that with every new batch. And so that's one factor. But even outside, I would say, of the course, there's just so much which happens socially and with different clubs, with different nations. And you can do it with your batch. You can do it with students outside of your course. So there really isn't any dearth of opportunities to create your own community or to be a part of one, I feel.
Very happy to hear that. And Malik, I'm imagining it might be a slightly different situation for you because you're jumping between universities the whole time, but I'm really interested to hear about your experience here as well. I already heard you refer to yourself as a MESPOMer. So it sounds like you have some kind of like core identity there in the class.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole idea here also with the MESPOM is meeting international students within your journey. I mean, before coming here also to Lund, we shared our masters in Vienna with a program called MESP, and during the University of Aegean, we shared a lot of our courses with the Erasmus plus students that they are doing their exchange. So it's all about interactions and sharing experiences. Here in Lund, it was quite interesting to see seriously like the EMPers and with their like established experience and what they've established so far within their program. They have really interesting program when it comes to like mixing between theory and practice, and then exchanging our experiences with their experiences, of course beyond fun and beyond the off-class activities. Sharing these insights are a program by itself. So yeah, I think it's really a complete and cohesive interactions.
So happy to hear that. And now we have, we have quite a few questions coming in. So thank you, everyone, so much for asking such insightful questions. We have two that have been upvoted that are pretty much exactly the same question. So Sahana, it's going to be for you. Does the LUMES program give an opportunity for exchange to other universities? And someone else also asks a very similar question. Is there an opportunity to study abroad in LUMES?
So unfortunately, the answer to both those questions is no. There aren't any opportunities really to do an exchange within the 2-year program. So our program is structured so that the first 2 semesters or the first year, we have compulsory courses. And the 3rd semester, we have electives. And the 4th semester is for our master's thesis. So there isn't really any semester where you can do an exchange. And I don't think our program really has any partnerships with programs in other universities to do exchanges from. We also don't really have the options of doing courses with other departments within Lund University itself. So that is one thing. And I think the other question was about, traveling abroad.
Yeah, it's more or less the same as the first one.
Yeah, but I do know that a lot of people have tried to do their internships abroad, maybe during the summer break. We don't have a compulsory internship component. So it's not that you would be doing it at that time, but it's really just on your own will, whether you want to do an internship. Then a few students look at opportunities of doing it abroad. So, yeah.
Perfect. I'm glad you raised that point that students in LUMES sometimes do take that initiative to take an internship between the 1st and 2nd year during the summer. And Malik, of course, your degree is more or less studying abroad for 2 years, as you've already mentioned. Sanchita, I'm wondering, from an EMP perspective, is there an opportunity for an exchange or study abroad?
No, not really. But unlike LUMES, we do have an internship component where you get to, so there's two parts to where you get industry exposure. You get to work in practice with organizations. You're immersed in different projects. For the first one happens in our 2nd semester, where there's a short 5-week project where you either consult with an organization or you can choose to be an intern. And depending on whether you're an EU student or a non-EU student, it can sort of like limit your opportunities to whether you can do it outside of Sweden or not. So that's one. But people who are from EU and have the opportunity do go out and arrange for internships on their own. Then the second, I would say, international experience outside of Sweden would be when we have our there's a component called Sustainability Solutions in Context, which happens in the 3rd semester, where there's a proper project immersion with a company. And there you have to probably travel to, organizations outside of Sweden. But that might not be 100% immersive, in the sense you might not be living there while that project happens. It might be visits to the company wherever it's located. It could be recently we had projects in Scotland. I know that there are projects which happen in Portugal, but the simple answer to the question about the exchange semester is no, not for our program.
You have MESPOM for that. Oh, I think you are muted.
You're muted,
Timothy.
Timothy.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much for reminding me. Too many webinars in one day. I appreciate it. So this next question is from Chana, and it is about your applications. So think back to those times when coming to Lund University was still a dream. All right, Chana asks, what did you talk about in your applications? In the previous webinar, the teacher spoke about showing passion and motivation. How did you do this in a way that was authentic to you? And do you have any other application tips? So, Sanchita, perhaps we can start with you. You're in your first semester now at Lund, so it wasn't too long ago that you were making your application.
Yes, but it was still a tense time. So I relate to everyone who's going through this right now. It was quite recent for me. I think, at least for my program, the questions that are asked as a part of the application are quite direct. And to me, being able to answer those questions within the word limit, which is really short, by the way, it's not like a lot of times we don't get to write big essays, but to be able to, for me, being authentic was being direct. And I was able to do that because I knew exactly what I wanted from the program, and what kind of skills was I seeking, what kind of exposure was I seeking. So what I wrote in the program was basically bridging the gap between my past experience and my motivation, and to be as direct as I could be about what I really wanted. So I think that having that clarity in your own head when you're drafting that application will really help to get that authenticity and that passion across while you do your application documents.
Thanks so much for that, Sanchita. That's really valuable advice. And I used to be an international student myself, and I can really relate to that nervousness and anticipation when you're making your application and also while you're waiting for results as well. But Sahana, do you have anything you would like to add here about any tips or advice for students making their application?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with what Sanchita said. And another thing I'd like to add is also, I think there is this feeling to already come off as an expert on the topic while you're submitting your application. Because I remember that we had to write about, I think one question was, what are some sustainability issues that interest you? And I felt the need to do, a whole literature review before answering the question. But I think what they're looking for is really that interest to learn more and that motivation to learn more than you already being an expert, because then why would you want to be a part of this master's program? The idea is to learn more. So I think it's very true that, as long as you show some kind of passion, then that's really good. And as we already discussed before, since everyone is coming from so many different backgrounds, they're not really looking for you to already have 100% of that knowledge, but rather how your previous background experience has motivated you to come or to arrive at this stage of being interested in sustainability or interested in environmental science or management or policy or whatever it might be. So I think that's really where I guess, where you should be focusing your efforts on in the application.
Thank you so much, Sahana. And Malik, any tips here for applicants?
I think Sanita and Sahana really came across the sweet spots and really gave a very valuable insights of how you can really tackle this. I would add another layer of why this program that you're applying for, like if it is MESPOM, why MESPOM, if it is EMP, why EMP, or even Luminous, why you want to really pursue this program in particular, to hire, because there is a lot of programs here, whether in Lund University or other universities. So to have maybe a little bit clear linkages of what exactly you want to perceive and receive from this program and from this course is quite a valuable insight to have while writing your motivation letter. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that insight, guys. And I can also add here, as everyone who's listening probably already knows, that there's no substitute for making an effort on your application. So put a lot of time, do your research, complete your documents, take some time off, come back and look at them again before you apply. And the fact that you are all attending this Q&A panel today already shows that you're proactive and well up to date on your application. So there's still some time before all documents need to be submitted. Well, for EMP and Loomis, I know MESPOM has a slightly different time frame. I think it's actually a little bit longer that you have than the other programs as well. So there's still plenty of time there for your applications. Okay, I can see we have another question here from Emily. Excuse me if I pronounced your name incorrectly there. It's about the exams or the assessments in the program. So Emily is asking, are the exams based on knowing all the topics by heart, or is it more about understanding and actually putting the knowledge to use and to transfer it onto another topic? So perhaps we can just talk more generally about what kind of assessments are conducted in each program, as that's essentially what the question is asking. So Malik, how about we start with you?
So the question is more related to the linkages between theory and practice, right? Here I would say that you should see MESPOM as a complete package, but not take it within only this semester here in Lund. For example, one of the mandatory courses that you should have, or credits that you should achieve, is conducting your own internship, which include also supervision from, of course, the host entity and between the university that you will choose to represent you within the thesis. Also within the coursework, there are a lot of learn by doing exercises, task forces that you should complete your tasks with your colleagues and with your cohorts, and tackling applied problems. Some of the courses actually tackle issues like the SDGs, for example. So it's a practical problem, but with theoretical touch, and you should have really big and really grasp the complex understanding of the synergies and trade-offs, etc. For MESPOM program, there is quite extensive coverage of theories, but also there is opportunities and chances to apply these theories within applied and emerging problems. I'm currently, for example, preparing my thesis to be actually in a partnership between a think tank in the field in Germany and between Lund University as well. So I'm going to tackle a research topic that somehow cover a practical problem, but from theoretical approach.
Thank you so much, Malik. That's great. And Sahana, I'm really interested to hear about exams and assessment on your program.
Yeah, I think we don't have exams in the sense of a final exam at the end of the semester, which is for like 100% of the grade. We usually have assignments that are divided across the semester for each course. So it can, the percentage and the composition can be different depending on the course that you're taking, but it's usually, we have something for like 10%, 20%, and then 70%, or it can change like that, but there's definitely more than one assignment per course. And it is that way for most courses in our program. And I think the focus of these assignments really is to apply the knowledge that you're learning. And an example I can give is about the individual assignments that we write, and the topic is really up to us to decide. We can choose to write about any sustainability issue or environmental injustice problem anywhere in the world, but the theoretical tools that we use or the methodological tools that we use have to be what we have learned in the classroom. So I think I find that quite useful because I can explore a topic of my interest, but using the theories that I have been taught in class. So I find that to be an interesting and also a different way of approaching examinations and assessments. And another assessment tool that we have, and a lot of emphasis is focused on this, is group work. We have a lot of group assignments where, you know, the group size can vary, but at the end we have to produce, say, a report or a presentation or some kind of data mapping or data interpretation. And this has been challenging at times, but sometimes also very fruitful experience. And we do work sometimes with practical tools, but I would say the focus of my program really is on the theory part. So, yeah.
Thanks so much. That's really, really insightful. And Sanchita, anything to add here on EMP?
I'd say the design is similar to what Sahana said. Like we also have the grade divided between different types of assignments across the semester. One, we don't have like one batch of time where all exams happen. Exams and grades and assignments happen throughout your course as it's running. And I think for us specifically so far, in addition to the core learning outcomes of both theory and practice, there is also focus on, I would say, soft skills. So making sure that you are, gaining soft skills that can help you as a professional after you graduate, in 2 years. So communication skills, presentation skills, academic writing, content analysis. So a lot of these, which sort of have an intersection between theory and practice, and that is the focus of, I think that's where it also differs a little bit from Loomis. The focus is a lot on practical skills, what we'll be required to put into our day-to-day life after we graduate, both soft skills and in terms of theory.
Great, thank you so much for that answer as well, Sanchita. And just I'm really glad that you pretty much all brought up that in Sweden, when you're studying an international degree program, you're assessed as you go, and you usually only study one module or course at a time, and then you're assessed at the end, and then you finish it and you move on to the next course or module, which could be assessed in a different way, like the ways that you just mentioned. So you do avoid this incredibly stressful period that you get in some countries where all your exams and assessments collide at the same time. So that's a fantastic aspect of studying in Sweden as well. Now here we have a language question, and I'll just throw this one open to anyone who wants to answer it, because we only have 12 minutes left and we still have a lot of great questions to get through. So was it hard to study in English if English wasn't your first language? So anyone, feel free to answer. Malik, you look like you have something to say there.
I mean, like studying the actual program, for me, it wasn't a problem because my bachelor also program was in English. I would say, like, and I can, if I may shift the question more into living in a place where the language and the speaking language is not English. We lived in MESPOM here. We lived in Vienna, they speak German. We lived in Greece, they speak Greek. And now we're here in Lund, they speak Swedish. I would say that none of the countries, there was a barrier when it comes to language. Within the context that you live in, there is always actually great opportunities for exchanging languages, and also have this opportunity of learning new language as well. For me, I started to learn a little bit Swedish and a little bit of Greek back then during the summer. But yeah, for the studies and when it comes to interactions, English is more than enough for you to explore and to benefit from all the opportunities that you can have, whether socially or academically.
Fantastic to hear. And in a way, that's all part of the experience and the challenge as well, I guess. And Sahana, you've been living in Sweden for over a year now. I have a question for you from Charlie. Is it necessary or helpful to have Swedish skills?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I think I completely agree with what Malik said. There really is no sort of language barrier, and everyone in Sweden, well, at least in Lund, speaks English and are happy to speak to you in English, especially within the university bubble. So I don't think you should be worried or scared about that. But I mean, having said that, when you move to a new country, it's always nice to know a bit of the language of that place, you know, to like talk in stores or like in cafes and restaurants. So yeah, but like as far as the university life goes, the working language is mostly English. And if you're studying an international program like ours is, then because everyone is coming from a different country, the common language is English. So there really isn't that kind of like social barriers based on the language when it comes to studying and working within the university.
That's really good to hear. And I think Sweden is often rated to be the country with the highest level of English proficiency in the world for a country that doesn't have English as its first language. And that usually changes between the Netherlands and Sweden each year. So people are very, very comfortable in English here in Sweden, and especially in Lund, which is a university city with such a strong focus on education. All right, let's have a look here. Here's a big question. It's from Alika, and it is, what do you plan to do with your degrees in the future? And it's a very bold question, but it's also very interesting. So I know that perhaps when you're studying your master's degree, it's something that you're still working on or thinking about. But if anyone here has any thoughts on that, that would be really interesting to hear about as well. So I'll leave it open to anyone who has an answer there.
I think like especially for us who are like now on the edge of completing their master's program, I think this is a $1 billion question, right? To know exactly how you're gonna benefit of all the knowledge and all these academic experiences that you've been exposed to since 2 years now, and especially that academia is different than how things are applied and practice, and this is something that we should really keep in mind. For me, for example, I am willing to advance on the interface between sciences and policy, but at urban level. And this is also the beauty about MESPOM. When you can reach to a level where, okay, within this program, which is environmental sciences, policy and management, you can end up having a specialization track, for example, in urban governance. It's a very broad, but also very interesting linkages and channels. I would say also, like, for taking benefit and advantage of the networks that you have and you can benefit during MESPOM. For example, if you at this moment in any career advice or career preparation, there is really a lot of benefits from the networks. Like, for example, MESPOM, we have now a network with the IEEE alumni. MESPOM have by themselves a network for also a mentorship program after graduating. There is a lot of networking places where you can, okay, I have this kind of expertise and how can develop it and where can I really take benefit of it, or where are currently a vacant places where I can provide this expertise. So yeah, this is at a glance, but of course, this is a very, I would say, personal question, and it really evolves. You never know what might happen in the near future, but we are well equipped with all the tools and knowledge that we might need. This is for sure.
That's fantastic to hear. And Sanchita, anything to add here? Any thoughts? I guess you've just started your degree also, so perhaps something you think a little bit further down the line.
It'll take me a bit, but I feel like I came to the program with very specific set of expectations. And for me, it was to gain cutting edge skills on what's happening on an environmental management and policy front, and to be able to apply that with my previous experience. And whatever said and done, I also look at this master's as a way to open more professional opportunities for more senior positions. That's a key expectation for me, for example, despite my previous working experience. So quite clear on that.
That's great to hear. And Sahana, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I think I quite agree also again with what Malik said about having the tools and the skills at the end of your graduation to sort of tackle any option that comes your way. I think for me personally, it is definitely an overwhelming question at this point, in your third semester and you're thinking about your thesis and, everyone's asking, so what do you plan to do after graduation? And you're like, well, but I think like Sanchita, I also came in with certain expectations of becoming better at research, becoming better at reading and writing academic texts. And so far, I have been able to achieve those goals. So hopefully I see myself in a career in academia, and yeah, we'll see.
That's so great to hear. And something I didn't mention at the start of the webinar, I believe, is that Lund University is actually ranked as the 12th best university in the world for sustainability studies in all three of these programs and in research areas. So many of our international master students do go on to a career in research as research assistants, as PhD candidates, as postdoctoral students as well. All right, so we're running out of time. This hour has gone incredibly quickly. Time flies when you're talking about sustainability programs. We have a lot of questions here that we still weren't able to get through, which is really, really unfortunate. But what I want to say is that if there's any additional questions that anyone who has attended today has, you're always welcome to reach out to Lund University staff and current students as well on the Univity platform to ask those questions further, and we're here to help. But we still have a couple more minutes, so let's see if we can get through one or two more questions before we go. Bao was asking, is it challenging to handle the workload from these programs? So Sahana, you just mentioned you're thinking about your thesis and thinking about your future career, and there's a lot going on. Is it a challenge at times?
I think this is a really personal question because for me, my bachelor's was very intense.
Okay.
We were doing like 5 courses at the same time. And I think this is the way it is in other countries. So coming to Sweden, starting the master's program where you have 1 course at a time and you have all your hours to focus on that 1 course. I think one that really allows you to give your best for that course and that subject, and also it is less overwhelming then. But again, I think this is a personal opinion and it can be overwhelming for someone who doesn't come from, say, a social science background, or if you're studying a highly science motivated course, then it can be challenging for someone who doesn't come from that science background. So it definitely is a personal question, but for me, I think taking it step by step and focusing at what is in front of you right now is a good strategy. But in the 3rd semester, we now have electives. So we have 2 courses at a time. And it is a bit challenging, a bit overwhelming, but I mean, I think it's all a part of the master's program and getting that experience. So.
Is there anything you would like to add here? Can it be challenging or overwhelming at times?
I think it's in the program design that our first semester is the most intense one out of all 4, because you're really trying to catch up with the fundamentals to a lot of subjects, which will you'll be building upon those blocks later on in your spring semester and then year 2. But I've spoken to the batch above us, the 2nd year students, and really the most intense part of the course is the first semester. Also because you're moving to a new country, and there's like personal challenges as well. So that adjustment period plus the design of the course, I think I felt overwhelmed sometimes in the past 3 or 4 months, but it's not been unmanageable. And there's always support. You can always talk to people. There's always people to help you out. I think it's just managing your time and energy, which I'm learning how to do better as we go ahead. So that's one component as well of that.
Definitely. And Malik, anything to add here?
I mean, there's a lot, but I know that we have time constraints here. I would add one thing to keep in mind for MESPOM, that the other institutions, they don't follow the same Swedish system. So in Vienna, for example, in CEU, the knowledge acquired there was extraordinary and extensive, but I had 3 and 4 courses running in parallel. So this is something that you should keep in mind if you chose to pursue the amazing program of MESPOM. If you need any further information, I'm really glad to answer through email. If you can like dispatch our emails for the attendees. But for the time constraints, I prefer to cut it here for my intervention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malik. And as you noted, it is 5 p.m. here in Sweden, so we have been going for 1 hour. Unfortunately, we won't be able to answer any more questions today, but thank you everyone who did ask a question. As I said, you can always reach out to us in the future, and we will answer any and all questions that you have about future studies here at Lund University. But I want to ask our fantastic panelists today if there's any concluding thoughts you have, if there's anything you feel that we haven't talked about today. This is your chance to bring it up and let all those future students know your final tips and advice. So Malik, how about we start with you?
Thank you so much. My only suggestion here, whether you end up hopefully pursuing any of the 3 programs, we're lucky that some students and prospect students are really interested into these topics and are really trying to maximize their knowledge and joining forces when it comes to climate action in whatever scope or whatever range of occupations you might have in the future. I would say please focus on the motivation letters, try to put all of your thoughts and all of your passion within it, as it was mentioned by the guidelines, and there is a lot of in the guidebook. Best of luck in your applications, and hopefully we'll see you within the network associations later on, and asking questions on the program by itself when hopefully you will join. Good luck again, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Malik. Thank you so much. And Sanchita, any concluding thoughts?
No, just all the best to all the applicants. I think, like I mentioned before, be direct, research your program well, and attend a lot of these webinars. I promise they're super helpful. You get to know a lot of tips from these Q&As and speaking to people who are already in the program and getting more information. It's all a part of your background research. I mean, it's a big decision to do your master's, so I would totally recommend that. And I think one thing we might have missed out on today is, because I do get this question from a lot of students in India about placements and the job opportunities. I feel like having had experience in the sector and the trends that I do see coming up, there is a lot of scope regardless of your background and regardless of your interests. The climate needs everyone, to join the movement, and there are lots of opportunities for people to get involved. So I wouldn't, and I would suggest that you utilize your further education to really get involved and discover how you can contribute to the field. It's a sunrise sector. That's what I can leave you with.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that, Sanchita. And last but not least, Sahana, any concluding thoughts from today?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything the important things that have to be said have been said already. But I think one thing that I'd like to add is, from my experience coming from India, from the Global South, even though we call these programs as international, it tends to be still quite Eurocentric. So one thing that has really helped me has been to find my own community of international students within the LUMES program, but also outside, to really discuss issues and sort of highlight our concerns and form this sort of support group. And I think that really keeps us going, because it can be scary to move to a new country all across the world and like have to fight these battles by yourself, but just know that, you're not alone, and there are other students out there facing the same problems, and it's just a matter of finding the right people to talk with. So yeah.
Thank you so much for those final words, Sahana. And that basically wraps it up for us today. I just want to add from my own perspective that I wish all applicants the very best of luck with their application. I know it can be stressful, it can be nerve-wracking. As everyone's mentioned, you're planning to move to a new country, a new culture. So I really genuinely wish you the best of luck with your application. And I sincerely hope that we will be seeing you in Lund next autumn when the next batch of international degree programs begins. So thank you so much to all three of our panelists today for your insights, your tips, your tricks, and all those aspects of your student life. And thank you to everyone who's joined today as well. So have a pleasant evening. Bye-bye.